This week on Chuckload of Comics, who is Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, and why do I have a cat in my lap? Stick around, learn some stuff right here on Chuckload of Comics. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Chuckload of Comics. If you watch our show regularly, you know what we do. We talk about comic books, we talk about movies, we talk about everything happening in the world of fandom every single Sunday. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. The Entertainment Weekly photos for the upcoming Captain Marvel movie, they just dropped this week and they look incredible. The internet is abuzz about this upcoming film, and a lot of people are asking, who is this character? Who is Captain Marvel? Who is Carol Danvers? And where has she been this entire time? Why hasn't she been in the MCU movies up until now? Well, all of these questions have answers, so what I'm going to attempt to do, is break down the entire history of this very interesting character. She is the most powerful person in the entire Marvel universe, and we get to see her this March. So, without further ado, here's a little backstory on Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers was first introduced as part of a Captain Marvel adventure, though this was long before she took on the moniker herself. Instead, this was the superhero identity of Mar-Vell, a member of an alien species called the Kree, who was originally sent to Earth to spy on humanity. He was introduced in Marvel Superheroes issue 12, and Carol Danvers first appeared in the follow-up issue, Marvel Superheroes 13. In an attempt to blend in with humanity, Mar-Vell took the identity of a deceased scientist named Walter Lawson, who worked on an Air Force station in Cape Canaveral. He meets Carol Danvers because she's stationed as the security chief there, guarding a top-secret project that just so happens to be a destructive Kree automaton called the Sentry. Continuing as a representative of the Air Force, Danvers appeared again when Captain Marvel got his own comic, which led to a major change in her life. In 1969's Captain Marvel 18, Mar-Vell has a major confrontation with his nemesis and Kree superior, Colonel Yon-Rogg, and the battle wound up having some significant consequences in the Marvel Universe. Carol Danvers winds up being hit by a blast of radiation from an exploding Kree device, and while she's initially injured, she walks away from the incident in the end with some strange and incredible new abilities. Nearly a decade after this event happened, Carol Danvers returned to Marvel Comics, possessing incredible strength, speed, stamina, and durability. She can also fly, but while that was initially said to be a part of the mechanics of her costume, a second exposure to Kree radiation made it a permanent gift. She also has what's called a seventh sense, a precognition of upcoming terrible events, and she can manipulate energy both by absorbing it and projecting it through her fingertips. It's important to note that it's because of Mar-Vell that Carol's powers changed the way that she did. Because of her proximity to him during the explosion, their genetic structures wound up melding. This means that Carol Danvers is not just a human with Kree abilities, but a full-blown human-Kree hybrid. Because of her DNA, Captain Marvel not only has a connection to the Kree as a species, but also the Kree homeworld. Because of this, her adventures have regularly taken place in outer space, which leads to the assumption that this is where she's been throughout the entire events of the MCU, and thus why we haven't heard of her in any of the previous Marvel films. As I mentioned before, it took nearly a decade for Carol Danvers to return to the pages of Marvel Comics following her accident. But when she did it in a major way. In 1977, the publisher launched a Ms. Marvel series, which saw Danvers as the protagonist, working as the head editor of a women's magazine run by J. Jonah Jameson. While she moonlights as a superhero, she doesn't actually know it because the Ms. Marvel identity manifests as a separate identity from her own. While Carol Danvers was not the first female character to have her own Marvel comic book series, her solo series did arrive at a very important time, specifically during the feminist movement. The mere fact that she was called Ms. Marvel was a statement being made by the company, and she was actually advertised as the very first feminist superhero. Carol Danvers technically first got the name Captain Marvel during the House of M storyline, where the name was passed down to her by Mar-Vell as she established herself as the most powerful superhero on Earth. But it was really not until 2012 that she fully adopted the mantle, and she's gone by the name ever since. At this point, it's unclear how the Captain Marvel movie will address this name change. With Jude Law playing the Mar-Vell character in the upcoming film, it's possible that he could simply just hand the title down. Marvel fans have spent years arguing about the most powerful hero in the MCU, and it generally comes down to a debate between the Hulk and Thor. That's a conversation that fans have had for years, but those of you sick and tired of the argument will soon see it go away. Why? Because Captain Marvel will apparently be able to kick the crap out of both the giant green rage monster and the god of thunder when she is at full strength. We know this because back in late 2016, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige specifically referred to Carol Danvers as the most powerful character they've ever introduced, and even went as far as to say that it made her a challenge to adapt for the screen. It's hard to know if we'll get to see a fully powered Captain Marvel in the upcoming movie, but considering that Avengers 4 will be set approximately 30 years later, we can assume that she will be more than ready to take on Thanos when the time comes. So there you go, guys. There you have it. That was a mouthful. That was a lot to get through. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a couple things. If we forgot anything, like her role with the X-Men, please leave it in the comments. There's so much to talk about with Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. If you're not excited about the Captain Marvel movie that comes out in March, you need to get excited. This movie's going to be awesome. The young Nick Fury photos were great. The movie takes place in the 90s. It's going to be a blast. So thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button, please do so. Join the Chuckload of Comics family. We're here every single Sunday. We do comic book reviews, movie talk, nerd news, everything happening in the world of fandom every Sunday. And we'll see you here next week, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. We really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.